Welcome to the broadcast. This is Dr. Kesha. It's Dr. Kesha. Hey, send me your questions. I'll be more than happy to respond. Listen, this is a special video because we're going to be doing commentary on Marriage Explained in 8 minutes. I find this video to be phenomenal. It really hits all the core parts of why marriages fail and why marriages are successful. And so it's really a great, not just a premarital counseling tool, but also a post-marital counseling tool for those that have gotten lost in the sauce, or you've never received premarital counseling or any type of counseling or direction with regards to marriage, or was never taught, which most of us weren't taught how to be married or how to sustain a marriage. And so this is a great tool whether you are single and or aspiring, or if you happen to be in a marriage and you're just having a lot of problems and you just can't seem to figure out what to do. This particular video that we're about to go through is a great tool that you can use, but it shouldn't be the only thing. You should definitely evolve from that to perhaps receiving coaching and counseling to help you on your journey. I think it will be helpful. So let's go ahead and situate this particular video and let's get started. And I'm sorry, let's shout out your brutal bestie. I love the name. Shout out to them, and I'll be more than happy to put the link to this video in the description.
Marriage is the only contract where you promise forever based on how you felt when brain chemistry was making you temporarily insane. You're making a lifetime decision during the phase when you're least qualified to make rational decisions. I'm about to explain what marriage actually is, what makes it work, and why most people struggle. No romantic nonsense, just honest breakdown of what you're signing up for. Here's
So before she goes into it, there's a couple of things. Now, I do agree with her, you know, some folks, not everybody. I would be interested in finding out what the percentage would be of those that decide to get married based on just feelings alone, right? I would love to get the data on that because it's nuanced, you know what I'm saying? Because some people get married for various reasons. Some people have been in relationship or they've been partners for a minute and they decide to seal the deal, you know? And so some folks get married because of circumstances, right? Not necessarily because of feelings, but I'm sure there is a group. I'm just curious, in terms of how many folks would agree with that and have actively walked into a marriage on feelings alone, or how they felt, right, about their partner, about their person, versus a person that was, or people that were motivated to get into the relationship based on how they felt they loved each other, but there were other circumstances that were driving them to marriage. All right, so let's go. Let her cook, as they say. Let her cook.
what marriage actually is at its core. It's a legal and social contract where two people agree to build a shared life together while navigating constant change in themselves, each other, and their circumstances.
I think that's fair. If you're excluding tradition and culture and faith, that can apply to any person. So I think that's a fair definition of what marriage can be to most people in our society. But, obviously that begins to shift when you add those elements that I just spoke about. But I think that's a fair. It's a legal social contract. I think in our society, it is more socially acceptable to be married than not. I think, and then you when you narrow the focus to subgroups, it becomes even more favorable for folks that are married, even down to the IRS when we report our taxes. You get more, right, when there are two. Even the Bible says two is better than one. So there is this incentive. It's not just invisible, but you see it, the benefits of marriage. And whether it's the government giving you incentives or whether it's just our society and social cachet that gives us, some type of incentive and or celebrates us and or encourages us to do what they believe to be the right thing, which is marriage, a legal contract. That part, people oftentimes debate the concept of contract versus covenant, but I believe that there's overlapping, you know what I mean? Because you can't have covenant without contract, if that makes sense. You have to have an agreement, even God and I, this is a faith-based channel. I'm a faith-based person. So my core values is going to be in and throughout this conversation. So for those of you are that are not, I totally understand you're just not my audience, and that's okay. You can still listen and enjoy. But for those that know, right? When God, right, had the agreement with Israel. They consent. There was a consent. There was a need for consent, right? Which allows them to be in covenant with their God. And so, yeah, so the notion of consent, it's important. And then that's translated to mean contract, which means agreement. There's certain parts that you're responsible for and to do, and then there's certain parts that the other person is responsible to do. And if you violate that, and we see that in our relationship with God, yeah, there's parts that we must play, things we must do. And when we violate a contract, there's a breakdown, there's a separation, and all the things. The Lord uses, even in the Bible, legal jargon, right, to talk about these types of nuances. So I know we want to be, so spiritual, so we spiritualize everything. But the truth of the matter is that there is some overlapping when you're talking about covenant and contract, because you can't have covenant without one, if that makes sense. All right, let's go.
Themselves, each other, and their circumstances. That's it. Everything else is optional cultural additions. Notice what's not in that definition: eternal happiness, constant romance, never being attracted to anyone else, automatic compatibility. These are myths that destroy marriages because people think something's wrong when reality doesn't match the fantasy. Marriage isn't finding your soulmate and living happily ever after. Marriage is choosing a compatible partner and then both of you working daily to maintain friendship, intimacy, and shared purpose while your bodies age, your interests change, your careers evolve, and life throws curveballs at you constantly. Most
Oh, okay. So let's just take it a couple steps back. I find that very interesting. Marriage is choosing a compatible partner. A wise one would say, in order to have a healthy, there's some elements of happy you can have in that when you make the best choice that you can make in terms of compatibility and suitability with your partner. Life will be a lot smoother in some cases. But what you can't control is life, right? Life is gonna life in singleness as well as in marriage. But the more compatible the partner, the more there are harmony, balance in the relationship, the more successful it can be. Even if it's perspective, even if there is, you know, um, some uniqueness between you, some distinctness between you. You're obviously an individual. This person is an individual. You bring your own genius, you bring your own experiences, which may be diverse, it may be different from your partners. So you have the differences there, but you have your core values in common. You are linked together in a common purpose and a pursuit for purpose. Even if you're different lanes, there may be something that you do have some commonality, maybe a passion project in common, the way that you see life, in terms of, the just again, growing old, saving, just the direction in which you see life unfolding may be very similar. Parenting, how you want to go about that may be similar. The value of work and work and having a work ethic may be in common. So again, having a compatible partner is key. you know? And so it's not just about the feeling that you have for this person, it's actually looking at, the facts of the matter. You're looking at their personality, you're looking at their experience, you're looking at their ideologies, their mindsets. You have to look at those things too. And unfortunately, some folks put the cart before the horse and they just look at what they're dealing with in terms of their feelings for that person. And then they become clouded in their judgment with regards to the reality of the situation, where you just may be on opposite ends of the spectrum when it comes to compatibility. You may be oil and water, but because you fell for them, right, before you had an opportunity to collect data. That's what dating provides, data, especially if you are very intentional about getting information and processing it so that you can make a decision that is based on reality and grounded and rooted in reality and based on facts. So don't get caught up in the emotional part. It is important to love the person, I believe, even though we know culturally there are folks that are matched, matchmakers that match people. There are relationships that are arranged, right? Which means that that person may not necessarily love the person, but they've made the commitment. And in those instances, those relationships have a tendency to last longer than other type of relationships, even though it's absent of love initially. I would like to believe that those relationships evolve into a loving relationship or that in love feeling. It does come eventually, but in the beginning, it's just simply about their tradition and or the what seems to be right in terms of the compatibility of their partnership, the families merging together, and building generational wealth and inheritance. That's more important to them. They value that more so than their feelings. And one of the things about feelings is it comes and it goes, even down to the in love feeling that you have going into the relationship. There are ebbs and flows to those feelings, to those emotions. So you should never make a decision based on how you feel, especially a life altering decision such as marriage. You never make a decision like that based on your feelings and your feelings alone. Feelings are important. You should acknowledge them. They're good. Whether it's good or bad, right? You should never make, again, a life altering decision based on feelings. You have to make the decision based on facts. All right. So I would admonish that. And that's to every area of life for sure. That rule should apply. All right. So choosing a compatible partner is crucial in these areas that she's about to state. Let's review it again.
And then both of you working daily to maintain friendship, intimacy, and shared purpose
Friendship, intimacy, shared purpose.
while your bodies age, your interests change, your careers evolve, and life throws curveballs at you constantly. Most people spend more time planning their wedding day than understanding what marriage actually requires. They focus on the party and ignore the partnership. This is like focusing on your graduation ceremony while ignoring that you'll need actual job skills afterward. Here's the first truth about marriage nobody tells you: you're not marrying one person, you're marrying multiple versions of that person across decades. The person you marry at 25 isn't who they'll be at 35, 45, or 65.
I think that's a true statement. And then she goes on to say it's like being in college or just getting the degree and not acquiring skills. Most people get into marriage and they don't have skills. And she's going to break down the necessary skills that couples should have or individuals should have going into the marriage. Everyone needs certain skills to be able to maintain the relationship. So they're relationship skills, and these skills you can develop way before getting into a marriage. But oftentimes, unfortunately, due to our society, there's a lot of reasons as to why, but a lot of folks don't have the right type of skills, whether it's conflict management, whether it's communication, whether it's conflict resolution, which is a part of management, whether it's forgiving each other. Forgiveness has to be a lifestyle because you're dealing with nuance in relationships. You can't often predict how someone's going to respond or react, and you may be disappointed because we have expectations as human beings, and oftentimes, we we expect for folks to do what we do, think how we think, behave how we behave, and that's just not reality, because this person is very much unique and different than you. And so they're not going to think how you think, feel how you feel. There's going to be nuance. There's going to be differences of opinion, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. That's why the Bible says two is better than one, right? You have two insights, two perspectives, two brains, you're right, in operation, being critical, being analytical, right? You're able to, brainstorm. It's like, whatever idea you have, they can, oh yeah, maybe how about this? That's a wonderful thing when you embrace the reality that is relationships, embracing this individual, this unique person coming into your life that come to make it better, right? If you make the right choice, because it really is in the power of your choice, right? You have to choose someone who is suitable. And if you haven't done this self-work, then more than likely you may choose someone that is incompatible. And so that's the danger as well. So that's why there is a need for coaching, believe it or not. That's why there is a need for counseling. And to me, counseling is the most extreme than coaching. Coaching would probably be more suitable in these matters. You know what I mean? And so I'm totally available for you. And I left some information in the description with regards to how you can connect with me and get the soul coaching that you need, because it will optimize your relationships when you do have someone helping you navigate and partnering with this process of learning and acquiring the skills that you don't have to be in relationship. And it just doesn't, you know what I mean, it just doesn't impact just a romantic one or marriage, but also in your business relationships and also in your family dynamic, friendships, and how you show up and how you manage in your singleness is crucial to how you're going to manage the relationship that you're going to be in, which is the covenant, you know what I mean, which is the marriage. And so, yeah, let's go.
People change careers, develop new interests, go through health issues, experience loss, and evolve psychologically. Successful marriage requires repeatedly choosing the new versions of your partner as they emerge.
So, again, that change aspect. No one remains the same. You're not the same person that you were when you were 8 years old. You know what I mean? You're not the same person that you were at 20, for those of us that are beyond 20. You're a different person. Life has a way of I want to say altering a little bit of who we are as a person, developing us as a person. Whether it's sickness, whether it's having children, whether it's, career, um, again, just life, losing a job and having to pivot, learning a new skill, education, it changes us. And so finding a partner who is willing to choose you. I like that. That's a choice. Choose you, accept the new version of you as you grow and evolve. That's important. And so you have to begin to see that early on, the ability to accept you for you. And be careful of those folks that want you to be forever the same, in addition to those folks that are afraid of change and those folks that have a problem with your evolution predating the marriage. You know what I'm saying? So let's say if they're your friends for now and they're noticing, you're elevating in your business, you're starting to connect with people, that are showing you things that you've never shown. You're going into rooms that you've never been in. These are successful people that are a different socioeconomic bracket economically. You're being exposed, and then you discover that your partner, your potential partner, has a problem with you. You're acting different. You're acting funny. It's like they're having a hard time accepting you are now behaving differently, not in a bad way, not that you feel like you are better, but you're being exposed to nice things. You're being exposed to new experiences that's opening up your eyes to a different world. You're having a different perspective with regards to money and success and all of the things. And so, with that being said, again, choosing a partner, that's very much connected, that's willing to accept a new version of you, that does to me add to the potential of your marriage being more successful than someone that isn't.
Of your partner as they emerge. Some couples grow together, others grow apart. The difference isn't luck, it's whether both people are actively working to stay connected through change. Second truth that saves marriages: marriage is three relationships in one, and all three need regular maintenance. There's the friendship, the romantic partnership, and the business partnership. Most couples only maintain one or two and wonder why the marriage feels incomplete. The friendship is about enjoying each other's company, having fun together, and being each other's preferred person. When friendship dies, you become roommates who happen to be legally bound. The romantic partnership is about physical intimacy, emotional connection, and keeping the spark alive through intentional effort. When romance dies, you become friends without benefits. The business partnership is about managing money, household responsibilities, parenting decisions, and life logistics as a team. When this fails, resentment builds from unequal burdens. You need all three. Just friendship becomes boring. Just romance becomes shallow. Just business becomes transactional. The strongest marriages maintain all three dimensions continuously.
Okay, so again, the strongest marriages maintain all three. So when you are considering a partner, you have to consider whether you can have a friendship where you can actually enjoy not only their company, but actually enjoy who they are as a person, right? You're able to play together, you're able to experience new things together, you appreciate one another, you accept each other, on and on and on, right? And a genuine friendship with this person, you actually like them and they like you. That's crucial. That's crucial. And so if you lack that part of the relationship, then that's something you need to work on, and or it's the telltale that maybe this person is not as compatible as you think. The same with the romance. What was interesting about the romance was the fact that it's not just the feeling and the physical aspect, but also the emotional aspect. You have to be able to connect emotionally because we're a soul, right? Our soul consists of our mind, our will, which is our decision making, and our emotion. If you detach from that part of your person, of yourself, and you don't allow your person, right, to get access to that emotional part of you, then you're living beneath your privilege. I'm not even going to hold you. You're not going to have the strongest relationship that you can potentially have if you don't allow yourself to connect emotionally with your partner, and or are willing to be, as one of my coach friends would say, emotionally naked. If you're not willing to be either female vulnerable or emotionally naked in the relationship, or you don't trust them and it's this constant distrust going on, that's going to be problematic. So that's something that you need to work through in counseling. I'm not going to hold you. If you have a hard time connecting emotionally with people, then clearly there's been a breakdown of sorts and you need healing. But that's important because it speaks to your willingness to do it, and your ability to do it will again fortify the marriage. It will strengthen the marriage. You'll have a better marriage if you can do that, because again that's a part of the romance. And then you have to keep that romance going, the spice going, the curiosity going, and so the exploration going in the romantic aspect of your relationship. And then there's the business part of it. You have to respect each other when it comes to the business aspect of your relationship. I love how she broke it down. It's not just finance, it's all of the decisions that you make together as partners of life. Yes, the man is the head of the woman. We believe that here. We believe the Bible, it's right. But the Bible also talks about being of journeying together, partners together of this life. And so all decisions that you make, you should do it together, right? You should, and only the hard ones should be made by the spouse after collecting data and after getting insight from you and your perspective. But you should make them together if you're going to be partners in this marriage and see the value of each other and understand the weight of the gift that you are, and the weight of what you bring to the table, because there are some abilities that your partner have that you don't, right? So to not consider them, you're going to create a breakdown in that business aspect of that relationship, and that's not good.
Third truth about marriage: love is not enough. Compatibility matters more than chemistry.
Boom. Love is not enough. Compatibility matters more than chemistry. Because again, the chemistry can wear out, it can wear off rather, and so because of that, again, you fall on the purpose, and the commitment to the purpose when all else fails. Now, can you redevelop the chemistry? Yeah, you can reactivate the chemistry. If you lose the in love feeling, guess what? You can get that back again. Now we can talk about that in another video. It's not all is not lost if you seem to have lost that feeling. You can gain that back again, and that's another video. But the main thing that matters in terms of compatibility, you that matters more than anything else.
Matters more than chemistry. Shared values matter more than shared hobbies. Commitment matters more than feelings. Most marriages fail not because people stop loving each other, but because they're fundamentally incompatible in ways that daily life exposes over time. You can love someone deeply and still be wrong for each other.
Boom. Um, I'm a witness. Was married before. We did have shared values, but they weren't enough. We did not see eye to eye on the main things that matter the most to us. And that's where the breakdown began. That's where it began. So yes, you can love somebody deeply but be wrong. So please know that. And it's not something that it is a thing. It is a thing. So please don't just allow your emotions to be your guide. And I think that's the main thread throughout this whole thing is again, it's great. The feelings are wonderful. They're delightful. They're amazing. But and however, yeah.
Will be wrong for each other. Different financial values, different parenting styles, different life priorities, different communication patterns. These incompatibilities don't magically resolve through love. They create daily friction that wears down even strong feelings. This is why choosing your spouse is the most important decision you'll make. You're choosing your co-parent, financial partner, retirement companion, and the person who will
Ditto.
make medical decisions for you when you can't. Choose based
Ditto.
on compatibility for that reality, not just how they make you feel during the honeymoon phase. Fourth truth about successful marriage: it requires specific skills that most people don't have naturally. Conflict resolution without attacking character, emotional regulation during disagreements, clear communication about needs and expectations, compromise on things that matter to both of you, taking responsibility for your contribution to problems. These aren't skills you're born with, they're learned abilities that require practice. The couple
All right. So let's go back over them really quickly. We're losing time. Okay. So the skills again.
specific skills that most people don't have naturally. Conflict resolution.
Conflict resolution without attacking character. You have to be able to resolve and maintain conflict. Because conflict, listen, there is no such thing of a relationship, whether it's romantic or platonic, that is absent of conflict of some sort. At some point in the interaction, there's going to be disagreement, right? We're not going to see things eye to eye. I think we have this false impression of what a disagreement is. It's literally you not agreeing. And that's not a bad thing. It's just life. You know what I mean? You may want to go right. I may want to go left. That's not bad. It just is. So how do we work through that, right? How do we work through that? And so that becomes a question. So learning how to maintain, this is a whole nother lesson for another day, but to ultimately get to the point of resolve without attacking character, without taking offense. First of all, you need to understand that it's a natural thing to disagree. Anyone that has been in a household with more than one person, you disagree on how the toilet paper is positioned on the toilet paper roll. You disagree with the type of product you use for toothpaste. You disagree with juice, the flavor, the brands of juice that you prefer to drink, a tea or coffee. You disagree all the time. It's a part of life. It's not a reason to be upset because you disagree. That's the that's the main thing we need to learn. But it's how can we agree? How can we agree to disagree? How can we work through those disagreements? Oh, well, you don't prefer that? Well, how about this? Let's put options on the table and then let's compromise. Yeah, let's work it out. Well, how about we have this and this and everybody can be happy, right? And so yeah, learning how to resolve it without saying you're bad, I'm good, my idea is better than yours. Like that's to me very low level. If I hate to say it that way, but it's without saying it's immature, but it is definitely some maturity or some skill that is required there that a person lacks if they constantly attack a person's character because they don't see it their way, right? There's your perspectives are going to be naturally different because you're both different, and that's not a bad thing. So when you're talking about compatibility, that doesn't mean that everything I believe, think, or feel, or see, or how I see things, you have to do it the same. And if not, then we're not compatible. That's not what that means. And so we just need to have the right type of perspective. The differences are actually good. It may actually help the relationship because you've been you for quite some time, and you have to ask yourself, well, you being you up until this point in life, where has that gotten you? Right? Can you go further having another perspective and a fresh outlook? Absolutely. But you have to be open to and stop looking at it as criticism, more of it being insight and not criticism if there is a difference, right, of thought and opinion.
Without attacking character, emotional regulation during disagreements.
Yes. Screaming, yelling, getting angry, escalating. Learning how to manage your emotions during moments where, okay, because again it is about tone, it is about how you feel in that moment, and sometimes it may not necessarily be the other person, maybe they're calm, cool, and collective, expressing their feelings, which what may be different than what you think or feel, and then but you're receiving it in a different kind of way. You know what I mean? And or maybe they are being a certain type of way that is causing you to feel a certain type of way. Either way, you got to regulate your emotions. Do you go from 0 to the 60 because something's being said? No, you have to say, hey, you know what, the way you're saying this, or da 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 da, it's making me feel uncomfortable. We talk through those things.
Clear communication about needs and expectations.
Boom. A lot of folks don't know what they want. They don't know what they need, and the expectations that they have is often unrealistic. Let's work through that. So being able to articulate it clearly, I think, is definitely a skill, because a lot of us like to go around the mountain and back. We're not as direct as we could be. And then maybe, I would encourage writing things down. It may be helpful, especially if it's something so important that needs to be communicated.
Compromise on things that matter to both of you. Taking responsibility for your contribution to problems. These aren't skills you're born with, they're learned abilities that require practice. The couples who stay happily married aren't lucky, they're skilled. They've learned how to fight fair, communicate clearly, repair after conflicts, maintain intimacy during stress, and adapt to change together. Fifth,
Boom. Let's stop there. All right, because I have to pray at 9 o'clock. So shout out to those that usually pray along with me. So listen, do me a huge favor. I know I turned off my banner, but feel free to like this video, give me some hearts, subscribe to the channel, make a comment, tag, and share. This is going to be part one. We'll do part two in just a few moments. We're going to bring this to a close, and I will see you guys at the Spreading Truth Ministry channel, where we're going to go live for prayer and intercession. God bless you. Let's just end it here for now, and then let's do part two. All right. All right. Peace and love. We'll see you later. Bye.